Hey guys, what's going on? Kyle Krieger here. Hi, I'm here, social distancing at my house in Los Angeles, and I hope that you are home social distancing as well. It is the only way that we're going to slow down the coronavirus, so it is so important that we stay home. So for those of you, maybe this is your first time to my page, I am an artist and a film student and a photographer that lives in LA. I used to do hair for a really long time. I was a men's groomer for over 10 years. And so I teamed up with The Art of Shaving because they had this genius idea to do a virtual barbershop. So for people like me who have a trade like grooming or hairstyling, can offer you guys lessons at home on how to do your own hair or beard or grooming while we're social distancing. So today I'm going to offer you a tutorial on how to cut your own hair. And we're going to do it together. So what I need you first to do is go to the shower, shampoo your hair, and then come back and meet me here. So the first thing I always do is prep my hair, right? So I want to go ahead and shampoo my hair and then condition it. And when I'm shampooing my hair, I'm really scrubbing. I want to get in there because I want to get all the dead skin cells, product, and dirt off my scalp. Like, I don't know how much you guys are shampooing in this quarantine, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you to give you a nice good scrub. The Art of Shaving has a lovely rosemary shampoo and conditioner. That's the one I'm going to be using today. Let's get into the tools that you're going to need to give yourself a haircut today. First, we're going to start with trimmers or clippers like this, and hopefully they have guards that come as attachments like this. We're going to need attachments because we are going to be giving you a fade today. We want there to be variation in the fade. We're definitely going to need shears. I have hairstyling, like hair cutting shears, but if you have kitchen shears, we can do with that. I mean, any sort of scissors you have in the house will work. You're also going to need combs. If you just have one of these, like a little comb like this at home, like a skinny comb, that's great. If you have a barbering comb, that's even better. To keep your head wet is fine, but if you have a water bottle, it can keep the consistency of your hair damp the whole time. That would be good too. And the number one thing you're going to need if you're doing this haircut yourself is a second mirror. Okay, let's get started. So first I take my comb and along the parietal ridge I make a part and I grab a clip and I push away my hair on the top of my head so I can keep everything on my head nice and organized as I begin to cut. So I know this may feel counterintuitive to put this harsh line in the side of your head, but I promise as we fade and use different guards, we are going to work this line down so it disappears. Okay guys, so I just want to check in with you. I have my line on my head. It starts at an angle, and it starts between my high recession and my low recession. It kind of starts right here in the middle, and it goes all the way down and around about 1 inch to 1.5 inches above my hairline, and it sits above my occipital bone. The occipital bone is like that bone in the back of your head with those two little points. I usually put my fade line right above that because it's a little bit challenging to fade over the occipital bone because of the bumps and stuff. So it'd be easier for you guys at home just to kind of bring that up right above that bone. And just continue all the way around your head until it looks like this. Get nice and close and intimate to our mirror, and we're going to take our clipper and we're going to have the largest guard possible. So I usually use, this one's a 1.5, which is also a 4.5 millimeter. So I'm just going to clip this on there and I'm going to start to fade. Okay, so the motion that we're going to be using is a scooping motion that goes out like this. So we're going to be coming into the line and then scooping out. The reason why we're scooping out is because we want to preserve this length at the top and create graduation, right? So the shape that we want is going to look like this. Eventually, we're going to keep getting lower and lower with our guards, and this line will start to disappear around your head. So just make sure that when you're cutting hair that you're creating graduation, right? We don't want to go straight up and down. We want to kind of create this exaggerated shape because it will accentuate the jawline here. If you go straight up and down, it kind of collapses here in the parietal ridge, and we want to avoid that. Okay guys, so I want to make sure that you maintain this length here in your crown. My head shape is a little bit flat in the back, so I like to have a little length there. For those of you who also maybe have a more flat head back here in the back, we want to maintain this length so that we create a rounder shape when we get to the crown here in the head. I grab my clipper and my next guard down, so I'm working my way down. This is the number 1, and I'm just gonna connect and start to buff out this line. So now as we fade this line, I wanna make sure you guys don't go too high above the line because we switched to a smaller guard, so it's really important that you stay maybe a ½ inch above and below the line to start this fade. You don't wanna create a new weight line. Use the lever on the side of the clipper, if you have one, to use some variation and try to make the blend be a little bit more fluid. I have now moved down to my last guard, which is a half guard, and at this point you should still have a little bit of a line, but this little magic eraser is gonna take care of that. So I have this half guard, and I'm just gonna continue to go around my head and kind of buff away that line until it disappears, okay? One of the most important things to remember is that this haircut can work for anybody with any different hair texture, whether you have highly textured hair, coily hair, curly hair, straight hair, fine hair. All these hairstyles and textures can work with this haircut, and can also work with a guard and a clipper. It's hard. So I'm gonna put the clippers down because it just makes me more and more frustrated. So this is really hard to do. Like, cutting your own hair is not easy. So take your time, don't get too frustrated. Maybe even you need a little meditation moment because you're getting too frustrated, because using a second mirror is really challenging. Next, we're gonna move on to shears. I'm gonna re-wet my hair, and I wanna make sure that it's evenly wet, right? Hair has different elasticity when it's wet and when it's dry. So when, it needs to be, whether it's all dry or all wet, it needs to be consistent. And since mine's wet, it's easier to cut wet, so today we're gonna do that. Everyone's had that experience where they've gone to a hairstylist and the hairstylist cut it wet, and then when they dried it, it was much shorter than they anticipated. And that is because hair is more elastic when it's wet, so when it dries, it loses that elasticity and up to 25%, and so it shortens up a little bit. I'm gonna be probably choosing a more point cutting technique for mine. That's when you point at the hair like this. And I can also show you the more standard cut when you're cutting kind of straight across like that. Okay, so here we go. You're gonna give yourself this lovely hairstyle where you kind of comb everything forward, right? Then you're gonna go against the grain, give yourself a little subsection back here in the back and start in the back. Get this hair here that you wanna cut and just point cut into it. Point cut means I'm just kind of taking a little bit off the top. And as you can see, it's creating a little bit of texture. Okay, so now I become your mom and I say, take your time. Don't cut yourself, because if you cut yourself with shears, it can be very painful on the finger and the knuckle. And because you bend your knuckle all the time, it never closes and it never heals up. So try not to do that and just go easy. I use a point cutting technique because it adds a little texture and I feel like it maybe takes out a little weight in my hair. If you have more fine hair than I do, then I recommend you cutting straight across. Having that line in your hair that goes straight across, I personally think it makes it feel more dense. Haircut is finally done. I got a paddle brush now for styling. It has wide bristles because it allows me to keep, the wider the bristle, the more natural texture you'll be able to keep in your hair. And I also have my trusty blow dryer, and then maybe putting in some product afterwards, okay? get the product out of the container, I usually take a nickel to quarter size of product. Depending on your texture of hair, you could, add or take away from that guideline. I work the product through my hands until it sort of disappears, and then I start to apply normally from the back to the front, because you don't want to have like a huge product goop right in the front of your hair. So I recommend that you sort of start on the sides or the back and then work your way to the front. Do a little detail work now. Now that I got my hair styled, I'm just gonna touch up a few little things. I got my little nugget right here, and I'm just gonna clean my hairline. To achieve this look today, I used the Art of Shaving molding clay. I like it because it has a matte finish, it has a medium hold, and it feels kind of light in my hair. So I don't necessarily like anything that's too shiny, so I tend to go towards the clay. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope that you enjoyed this haircut. I hope you learned something. And thank you guys so much for staying home. Staying home is the most important part of this whole thing for us and how we can fight the coronavirus. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, thanks for coming to my virtual barbershop. Make sure to leave any comments down below. Any questions you have or concerns, I'll try to help you navigate your haircut as best as I can. All right, bye guys.